Hello, everyone.
Ooh, spit it out now.
Oh, that. Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Go Deep podcast. I'm Will.
I'm Matt.
And we are the Beard Bros.
Sir.
Beard Bros. Beard Bros. We've got a great show lined up for you today. Special guest with us here on the show today, but just a little bit about our channel and our episodes that we're going to be putting out through this Go Deep series. We are outdoor enthusiasts. Isn't that correct, Matt?
That is correct. Everything outdoors, hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, day trips here, there, yonder.
Being blessed to have been raised and grown up in an area where we had access to about any outdoor activity that we fancied, that we wanted to be a part of. Hunting and fishing was big things growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, playing sports outside. I think most kids get that opportunity no matter where they live.
Yep.
But the area we grew up in, within 10 minutes of being outside, we could be in the woods. We could be close to a body of water. So I had great opportunities growing up to experience the outdoors. And then through that, I think it instilled in us a love of the outdoors.
Absolutely. You know, there's many days you just disappeared. You know, growing up, we'd just wander off, go through the hills, find something, found some pretty neat things, interesting things, seen some kind of creepy things, really.
You never know what you might run into.
That's exactly right. One time I went up in the hill and there was this old cemetery, and could have swore there was this headstone, and on the headstone there was 2 squirrels on top of it, like actually built into the headstone, and there was like an acorn and some decoration and stuff there with it. And I went on past it, whatever. When I came back, I'm telling you, those squirrels were gone.
You're a kid.
I'm telling you. And they were stone, you know, they weren't just sitting there looking at me as I go by. They were built into the headstone. When I came back, they were gone.
You know, it's been great. Like I said, having the opportunity to grow up in the area that we did, a lot of interest that we had growing up outdoors, we were able to experience firsthand. And one of those things that we got to do a lot of growing up was fishing.
Absolutely. Creek bank.
Yeah, creek banks, local ponds.
I don't know if all minnows like canned corn, but now we trained those to like canned corn.
Canned corn and bologna.
You could take a handful of canned corn and throw it in the creek, and you thought it was like groupers in Florida, and they just eating it up.
I think, like you said, I think we may have trained them to like that kind of stuff.
It's what we had.
It's what we had. We grew up running the creek banks and fishing for minnows and silver sides, bluegills, whatever may bite. As we got older, we got opportunities to get in local ponds and fish. You know, I had good friends growing up that was great fishermen and that really taught me a lot during that time, and how to catch bass. You know, that's kind of where that desire and the interest in bass fishing started. So it kind of leads right into our guest for today's show. Special guest on the show we're super excited to have on the show today is Mr. Carson Holbrook. Carson is a high school angler. He is a member of the BASS and the Student Angler Federation. As a high school angler, Carson's competed all over the state of Kentucky. Carson has boasted several different accomplishments through fishing, and we're going to talk about some of those here today. He was a 2023 Kentucky High School Athletic Association State Championship qualifier, where he finished 24th in that event. He's had 5 top 10 finishes, 7 top 25 finishes, and he qualified for the SAF World Finals in 2022 on Lake Pickwick down in Alabama. He's a 2-time national championship qualifier for 2023 and 24. Carson, it is great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me here.
So high school fishing, not something we've heard a ton about in years past.
Well, listen, when we were growing up, we had the big 3. You had baseball, basketball, and football. And I was blessed to play football. That was the sport that I liked. Never heard of such a thing.
No, I mean, this is like pretty cool to see this coming mainstream high school competitive sports.
Oh, absolutely. Not just that, you have all these other sports, that's out now. You have esports, you've got archery.
Oh man, archery is huge.
Yeah. And we never had archery growing up. You would have killed that.
Oh, we was redneck country boys growing up, man. I'm still a redneck. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But when we were growing up, we were trying to figure out the biggest decision of the day was we hunting, we fishing, we shooting bows today.
Yeah.
As soon as school let out, we was going to be doing one of them 3 things. So, like, if they'd have had this when I was in school, man, it would have been awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
And for you all that don't know, that man right there can shoot the knock off of another arrow.
Love archery. Love some of the stuff that the high schools are doing now. And I know it's not just in Kentucky where we're talking about here, but all over the United States, these competitive alternative sports, I'm going to call it.
Sure.
Bass fishing, archery is huge, like we said. Gives kids the opportunity to compete in some areas where not previously was an opportunity for them.
Well, not everybody's a football player.
No.
And that's
absolutely
all right.
not. And that is perfectly all right. Through these organizations, and I think through Major League Fishing specifically, they've offered a lot of opportunities to high school students. Knowing a little bit of background about Major League Fishing and some of these national and world final championships, a lot of scholarship money out there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of colleges giving tons of money to these organizations to give away through these programs. And it's pretty cool. And I think we're going to get into it a little more as we move on through the show today about how they do these tournaments or how they set these tournaments up. But it is really cool to see, just knowing what I know about them.
Yeah, I'm excited to find out because there ain't much I know about high school fishing.
Yeah, so I've got to experience it just a little bit through the last few years, and it's a great opportunity for a lot of kids that may not be interested in a lot of other sports that's out there. Kind of moving back to our guest today with Carson. Carson, we've kind of heard a little bit about our background in what we enjoyed to do and what we were used to doing growing up. But we'd be curious to hear about your background in fishing and kind of what got you into the sport and what kind of holds you there or entices you to fish.
Well, yeah, my love for the sport, it started way back when. I was probably 3 or 4, and we started fishing, and we went to Florida every year, and, down there, the big fish, big bass. And
how big we talking? Because now I've never been. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I've caught one bass my whole life. That was over at Car Creek 2 years ago.
Like 6 to 10 pounds.
Six to 10.
Big ones.
Big one. Okay.
So I understand you caught your PB largemouth in Florida.
Yep, 10-3.
10-pound, 3-ounce.
How does that look in inches?
27-inch fish, 26,
there ain't no
27-inch
way.
fish. It's massive.
I would show you the picture, but it takes too long to pull up. And it was in 2020. So,
It's too long ago.
So kind of got you start through with your grandpa.
Yeah,
Getting to fish with him, and from there it kind of just blossomed and grown into what it is today.
yeah, I just looked at all the opportunities and the things that it has to offer. And it's real calming. It's a place where I find myself and just have fun.
So with high school fishing, where did that interest begin? What got you kind of thinking about, hey, I think I might want to be a high school angler?
Well, I always loved fishing, and then I was like, well, I can do it and beat people. So that's what I wanted to do.
So it made it a competitive sport, and your competitive nature, you saw that was a great opportunity to get into that.
Well, I think that's one thing that we all three have in common is that competitive nature, But now, as far as fishing, I can promise you'll beat me. I go out today and not catch a thing.
I was always that guy on the back of the boat with my buddy.
Yeah.
He still is.
He still is.
And I'm still the guy on the back of the boat. I'm perfectly comfortable fishing the back of the boat.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing that. But my buddy be up there catching fish, and I'm sitting in the back of the boat not getting bite.
Because you're getting the leftovers.
Yeah, well, maybe so. There's a lot of fish down there, but I attribute it to him knowing a lot more about fishing at the time than I did.
Right.
And I think that, getting to fish with folks that are better than you makes you a lot better fisherman. It really does.
I'm going to have to go fishing with you all then because I can't.
Now, you need to fish with that guy.
I can do that.
I mean, we're talking professional level.
You need to go hunting with that guy.
I did one time, and no joke, we went hunting down Lawrence County.
Yep.
On backside of Camp Caleb. And we went down there, and a doe and a buck walked in same time.
Yep.
We dropped them both like that. Of course, he got the buck, I got the doe, but we did it.
Yep.
I mean, a second apart.
We can make it happen.
Yep.
When it comes to that. So, out the outdoors, getting to spend a lot of time outdoors hunting and fishing has had a great impact on our lives. It gave us opportunities that we would have never got to experience. Getting to experience a lot of the wildlife and different things, just like kind of the little story that Matt told in the beginning there. gives us an opportunity to see things that you may never get to see. And I think it's had a great impact on us. Like I said, in being outdoors and doing outdoor activities has instilled in us a love for the outdoors and getting to be outside.
Absolutely.
Some of the jobs that I've had that I enjoyed the most allowed me to be outside.
Yeah. And to go off that, I worked for a gas company for over a decade, and I took it for granted. After you're out there every day, all day long, fighting with the bugs, the ticks, the spiders, whatever it may be, you're like, man, I just want to be inside. But now, after sitting behind a desk, you can hear it calling.
I think that's some of the toughest jobs that I've had is required me to be inside.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's our nature is to want to be outside.
It is. And then, when you're outside, there's less depression.
Yep.
You just have this sense of peace being outdoors.
I think so too. I think it's a great way to relieve some of the stress.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope that through this channel and through these episodes that will follow this one, we can help instill in that love and desire to be outdoors, to enjoy the outdoors, and get to experience some outdoor activities that we have got to do.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of enjoyment there that people don't know about. Or like, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not hard.
No.
And you don't have to be perfect. So I think it's something that anybody can get out and enjoy. And there's something out there for any activity level, any interest level, or experience.
Sure.
So it's a great opportunity for folks to get out and enjoy something, have a little stress reliever, kind of refocus and rejuvenate yourself, so to speak. So it's had, like I said, it's had a great impact on our lives being outdoorsmen. And Carson, just kind of talk to us a little bit about how the fishing has impacted your life. How's the opportunities that fishing has provided you currently impacting your life, and what do you see in your future?
Fishing has actually taught me a lot of things, and here recently it's taught me how to control my emotion. We'll get into that later, but
he has the Holbrook temper.
He has no patience.
I don't either. For
the future, it's brought me a scholarship, and I get to go to college for less than everybody else does.
Well, how does that work? Because now, I understand football. I'm around it all the time. I video football every week in the fall. I know that scouts come, they watch. They get to see all that. They see the film. There's proof there. How does that work when somebody's recruiting a fisherman?
Well, you're out there from 7 to 3 fishing, and you got to weigh in at 3 o'clock. And you come up with your bag of fish, and there's college coaches standing around, and you weigh your fish. And here's how it actually happened for me. We were at the 2022 SAF State Championship, and KCU's coach, Gene Nornold, was there. And we weighed in, and we were in like 3rd place. And after the tournament, he came and he told me that he wanted me to come on a visit. And I did, and I went. I loved it, and I committed to him.
Well, that's awesome. See, I didn't know that because, so for them, they don't get to see the process of you're out fishing, nothing like that. They just see the results. Yeah.
It's all about results. And in so many things that we do, it's all about results.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about that 22 SAF State Championship down in Lake Cumberland. How'd that day go for you? How was the fishing that day?
It was great. I don't even know how to describe it. We struggled at first, and as the day went on, we got better.
Did you figure out a pattern or something that the fish were doing?
Yeah, we just started hitting mud lines with spinner baits, and we had 13 pounds and had a 7th place finish.
Out of that 13 pound, how many fish was it?
5.
5 fish.
Was that all the fish you caught that day, or was there multiple fish that you culled throughout the day?
We only caught about 8 fish that day. So,
is there a limit that you can turn in?
5.
5 fish limit on all of it.
Well, see, I told you I'm learning.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't
Absolutely.
know about it.
Well, that's why we're here.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. You're teaching us a little something.
Yep.
So found a pattern. Fish were in mud lines and throwing a spinnerbait out there and whacking them.
It rained about 2 inches the night before, and you had run-ins everywhere, and the water was muddy. Just put our head down to fish and somehow stumbled on 13 pounds.
So I got to know, what's it like when you go out there in the morning, and this kind of goes back to that being outdoors and the feeling that you get. I've been around some of these tournaments, so I know a little bit about how that they operate in the morning. So it's really cool of how they get all these boats in the water. Like, it amazes me how they orchestrate this process of something like the SAS State Championship down there in Lake Cumberland. Got a big ramp, got a lot of parking out there, so that does help in the process. But man, when you show up that morning and there's 210 boats there with pickup trucks and 400 anglers to get launched that morning by 7 o'clock and get them out of there, it's a big process, you know. And
I don't know how they do it, because the first 200 boats, that should take all day just to get
you
them
would
in the
think
water.
so. You would think so, but they've got it down to a science. So we get everybody in the water, you know, and everybody's kind of sitting around waiting on launch time, and they start calling boat numbers. What is that feeling like, the anticipation, sitting out there in the water in the dark, waiting for daylight to come, and then start calling boat numbers and send you out of there?
Well, all that's going through my head is I want to get to my spot before anybody else does. I want to catch more fish and bigger fish than anybody else does.
So,
I just want to win.
so does it mean that if you get an earlier launch, that's an advantage?
Yes. Because if you get a later launch, people have time to get to your spot and sit on it and fish it.
Have you ever run into the problem where you're at your spot, you're fishing, and then you've got 4 other boats like right on your heel?
Yeah, or they want to jump in front of you and cut you off, and
Just take that rod. And just
that's
smack 'em
more
with it.
anger to it. Yeah.
That's what. Just throw the rod at them.
Well, you know, I kind of see it from a different angle. I think just from my perspective, maybe a mid-pack launch number or a later pack launch number gives you more time to fish. Conditions may change throughout the day that allow your style of fishing or your techniques to work better during those times. So I think if you're a early morning bite type fisherman, you get that little topwater hit in the morning, that may be the best time for you to be on your spot as soon as you get out of there. If you're better at, as the wind kicks up, it muddies the water up, kind of like what he was talking about, fishing a spinnerbait down there. You get a little of that mud line. Fish like to get in there when it's bright and sunny out and kind of hide in those shadows. It gives you more opportunities if you're that kind of fisherman. So I think everybody's going to have a little bit of different desire, I guess you could say, on when your boat number is and when you want to get out there on the water. The anticipation, I think, for all the anglers out there is just, let's go fishing.
Oh yeah.
You know, they want to get to their spot and get rolling that morning. There is something to be said for sitting out there on that water, as quiet as it is, and seeing the sun come up over the hill, and then the national anthem playing up there on the weigh-in trailer.
Yeah.
As they're getting ready to start launching numbers.
Gives you all the feels.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a really cool experience. You talked a little bit about KCU and your opportunity to go down there and fish. Moving into college fishing, this has become a lot more mainstream than the high school stuff. I think quicker than what the high school stuff has. But through high school fishing, you've had the opportunity to fish a lot of different lakes. I'm sure you've been, I think I saw in some of your biography there that you fished La Crosse, Wisconsin, the Mississippi River pools up there. You got to fish Pickwick, Alabama, Kentucky Lake with the state championship, and then Lake Hartwell coming up this year, 2024.
Where's that at?
South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
My understanding, it's like June, third week of June, something like that.
Man, it's gonna be hot.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to it.
It will be hot in South Carolina in June. You can guarantee that.
Yep.
And humid. But with all those experiences, all those opportunities to fish, talk about a little bit about some of your favorite lakes, and maybe why they're your favorite lakes as far as techniques and things like that you may use to fish there.
It's none of those lakes, actually. Del Hollow, it's split between Kentucky and Tennessee. It's my favorite lake. You can go down there and catch fish any time of year, however you want to, really. I mean, there's just so many fish in that lake. It's crazy.
So the population of fish and Kentucky Fish and Wildlife have got on that lake just makes it easier to catch them.
Yeah, and you drop a bait in front of their face, they're going to eat it.
Makes it a lot easier to catch fish. Why everybody wants to go to Florida and catch fish.
Oh.
Shallow water,
That's what I've heard.
big fish, hungry fish, they eat year round. A lot greater opportunity to
I
catch
eat
them.
year round too.
Del Holland be your favorite lake overall?
Yeah, and then Lake Toho in Florida, there's big fish down there, and like you said, it's all shallow water and none of that loud scope stuff.
Folks out there that might be interested in high school fishing, anglers coming up that may be interested in high school fishing. I know that now this is open to some junior teams that come out of middle school that can be fishing these opportunities too. Could you talk a little bit about those accomplishments, kind of how it felt for you that day, the emotional roller coaster, I guess you could say, of maybe being on the water, not catching any fish all day long, and then all of a sudden, boom, I got 5 keepers in the well, and going to weigh in with a pretty good bag. Kind of talk a little bit about how your experiences on the water like that, and then your accomplishments on each of these lakes that you fished.
Well, it's a lot of pressure, if you want me to be honest with you. And you get out there, first thing, you're dropping all the boats in the water. You get out there, you're excited. You fish half a day. You have no keepers in the live well. You're ready to sell all your stuff on Facebook Marketplace, sell the boat, go to the house, and you finally catch one. And you get rolling a little bit, and you just build your confidence back up, and then you catch another and another and another, and then that's when you make it, really.
Before you know it, you got a bag of fish.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time you get so frustrated that you drowned a rod?
I have threw 2 reels in the lake. Cut the line, took it off the rod, and chucked it as far as I could.
Just didn't like the reel, got tired, mad at it?
Yeah, both. True story. One's in Kentucky Lake, one's at Lake Gunnersville.
What reels were they?
Abu Garcia, they're junk.
For everybody at home,
No
do
question.
not buy those.
No question about those, right?
Nope.
I imagine there's some pretty stiff competition in high school fishing. You got a lot of boat teams out there that are very experienced fishermen, may have had a lot of coaching before they got into doing this, and like yourself, started at a very young age coming up to fish. So it's probably not an easy sport to get in and win, but you just need that one good day.
I've still yet to win one.
Hey, some of the greatest fishermen out there have never won the classic. They've been in the money, but just not won the classic. So
Speaking of pro fishermen and stuff like that, anglers, who is it that you kind of look up to?
I'd have to say G-Man. Met him at a Toyota series at Lake Gunnersville. He's a great guy. Great personality. He's definitely TV. He's made for TV.
funny guy.
Yeah.
So I understand you played a lot of other sports out there. You were a basketball player for a while, played high school football. And we have learned that you have a very low lack of patience. So can you talk a little bit about how that some of these other sports may have helped you along as you were coming through your high school career and even high school fishing? Some of the things that you've learned through the sport, maybe not fishing related at all, but just about yourself, or some things maybe that it had taught you, maybe about patience or working together or being a team, helping each other out, that sort of thing.
Well, I played football for 3 years, varsity football for 3 years, and it taught me a lot of things. It taught me how to be a man. It taught me how to work as a team because, you're a family. If one guy's off, all 11 are off. You're not going to fire on all cylinders. So, back to fishing, when my partner hooks up on one, I run and get the net immediately, no matter how big it is, because you never know. And same thing, he does the same thing for me. We help each other out. That's the best way to do it.
I can see having a partner on a boat that you got along with really well would be an advantage.
So I've always heard, and it's probably a myth growing up, if you're loud on a boat, anything like that, it kind of scares the fish off. Not true?
No, that's myth.
So y'all just kind of cut up,
Yeah,
carry on all day?
You ought to be out there. You ought to put a camera in the boat one day.
Well, I'd like to go with you if they'd let me.
I'd say it's an experience.
Yeah.
Would be an understatement.
I bet.
I think you've got a great partner from what I know about him. They work really good together as a team, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn a little bit about my involvement in this, but I think that having a good partner is key, man, because there's days that, we talked a little bit about it earlier, that one fisherman may not be catching fish, and the other one may be hot.
Yeah.
So, you kind of carry each other through that process. And there may be days you make a cut because your partner was on that day and you was totally off. I know there's days I couldn't throw one in a tree,
Yeah.
if I wanted to.
I can.
And I know there's days that I can't keep them out of the trees. You know what I mean? So
you talk about making the cut because your partner catches a fish. Well, mine was sitting down eating a bag of peanut M&Ms, and he had his shaky head out in the water in like 12 foot, and he puts the M&M in his mouth and picks up on his rod. This was at Regions last year when we made it to state at Kentucky Lake, and he says, "Look, it's a 2-pounder, and that gives us 7 pounds or 5 pounds, whatever we had." And puts us in 7th place. So
just over the cut line while eating the M&M bag of M&Ms. That's how it happens. You never know what's going to happen. So you talked a little bit about making it state. 2023 Kentucky High School Athletic Association State Championship down on Kentucky Lake. New lake. You never been there before in your life. Can you talk a little bit about what you did to prepare for that tournament and then being on that lake, and maybe what the anticipation of being there with some of the top high school anglers in the state was like?
Well, that's a big lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'd say, 150-some thousand acres. You can't fish it all in a week. We went down on Tuesday and we practiced till Thursday because tournament started on Friday. And we talked to a lot of people. What hurt us is we went off the dock talk. We didn't do what we knew, and we tried to do what everybody else said that they were doing. And that's really what hurt us.
Is that like a strategy that some people do? It's like, hey, we're doing this just to throw somebody off?
Oh, well, I think so. Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, and fishermen.
Yeah. Oh, well, they never tell the truth.
No. So we don't even know if he's telling the truth right now. But I think that's human nature.
Yeah.
We don't want to tell them our spot or what we're catching fish on. You see them kids get up, walk across stage up there, and ask them what they caught the fish on. And they say bubblegum trick worm, or a pink spinnerbait. Like they're not going to tell you what they're catching fish on.
Yeah.
So they just throw stuff out there. But I think a lot of times you go into a lake like that, you got anticipation. You don't know a whole lot about the lake, and you really don't know where to start. And a lot of times we get hung up on doing what everybody else is doing, or you watch some videos online and you see so and so's catching fish on this, and you think that's the only way to go.
Yeah.
But you forget what got you there and what you knew coming into that tournament that worked at other lakes. I don't think there's a lot of difference unless you go to a lake that maybe is just a super deep lake, no shallow water, and you may be a particular shallow water fisherman. I think that can give you some struggles. But sticking to your guns, so to speak, doing what you know sometimes is the best thing to do, right, Carson?
That's exactly right.
So Kentucky Lake looked like you finished 24th out of the pack. We talking like a 200 boat pack for that tournament, or how many?
No, this one was only about 110.
110 boats. Yeah. So it's a 2-day tournament, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Day one, you go out there on tournament day. What was day one like?
Okay, so we went out there on day one, and the first flip I made was a 4.5 pounder. Where I was like, well, today's gonna be really good. And we kept fishing down the bank, and my partner, he flips on a 4-pounder. We have 8.5 pounds in an hour, and we keep fishing. We did not fish clean at all, and we ended up with 2 fish for 8.5 pounds on day one, put us in like 30-something place. And we just went back out there on day 2 and did the same thing. We ended up with 4 for the same weight. That put us in 24th.
So that tournament, what was the strategy? Was it fishing shallow water, flipping structure? Or were they laying out on ledges, on humps? Where did you find fish?
Well, we started out by fishing boat docks, and that didn't work out. And, I wasn't advanced as I was now with the forward-facing sonar, so we didn't try to go out and fish those humps and ledges and stuff. So we just put a flipping stick in our head and went fishing.
Well, he's mentioned it twice. We might as well go ahead and shoot the elephant in the room. Forward-facing sonar. Or a live scope.
So you're a live scope fisherman now?
No, I can still fish the bank.
Well, I used to work with a guy, and he swore up and down that was the only way to go.
Live scoping?
Yep. He's standing there and just pick them out whenever he wanted.
You just drop it on their head, and they come up.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of controversy out there about forward-facing sonar.
You're going to get canceled on the first show.
No,
It's worth the risk.
We'll
We'll talk about it.
We're going to talk both sides of it. And I think there's an opportunity for using it. I think it's a great tool. There's a lot of fishermen out there that still like the old school way of fishing and do not particularly care for the forward-facing sonar. I see both sides of it, and I'd like to get his perspective on it a little bit. I think, my personal opinion, I've done it both ways. I've used the forward-facing sonar. I've fished the bank, as Carson says. I grew up fishing the bank. There was no forward-facing sonar. And the things that you learn by just fishing, learning structure, learning where fish go, what holds fish, what holds what types of fish, the types of baits to throw during certain seasons, where they may actually be located and what that fish is looking for at that time. I think that you can't be a well-rounded fisherman without knowing that type of stuff. Now, there's advantages to the forward-facing sonar for a couple of reasons. One, you can see the fish, right? You look on the forward-facing sonar, they're down there swimming around. You see where they're at. It does some things for you. It would boost my confidence in fishing. Be able to look down there and see fish.
Yeah, you don't want to go spend half an hour fishing where there's not a fish anywhere.
Exactly.
If you're not scoping, you're hoping.
Exactly.
I like that.
So how often, going back to the old school way, how often do you fish an area but just hoping there's a fish there and you have no idea if there is or not? So I think there's great advantages to it. One, that it gives you the confidence to keep fishing, where at times you may just quit and give up and go home for the day because you've not got a bite all day. But being able to see the fish down there and to see them react to certain lures that you may throw down there, I think that gives you great confidence.
So I know it's called live scope, right?
Well, it depends on the brand.
Okay. Well, I mean,
in general.
So in general, live. So how live is it? Can you see them react to what you're doing?
Yeah, but everybody thinks that it's like a camera down there that's showing you fish. It's not.
Yeah. It's a graph.
It's a graph. Yeah. And so you got a black background and you can set your distance however far you want it. I want mine at 80. I can see enough and I can cast. That's a comfortable cast for me. I set the depth 5 feet below the bottom, and you sit there and you pan with your foot, and that thing shines out there. And when a little orange dot shows up on your screen, that's fish.
So think of it like an ultrasound. Is what it basically looks like on screen. And like you said, you can see the fish down there. You can make some pretty good detail out about some of the fish that you see. If you're like, we've been on the water before, and you look out there and you see gar swimming around, you know it's a gar.
Yeah.
It's a big, long, skinny looking fish. Looks like a snake on the graph. And then you got bass that look like a little football laying out there. So you kind of know that that's a bass. Some of the northern lakes, you get up there in the pike and things, you can tell them from other fish. So some great advantages to forward-facing sonar, especially deep water fish. You can go catch fish that's up on the bank without it. You don't need it. Shallow water, you don't need it. But when you get into deeper water, it gives folks that like to fish deep water a great advantage. So I see both sides of it, and I think that there's a place for it in fishing. I don't think you can do away with it completely, just because of the advantages that it provides. And folks today are more technically advanced, I think, than they were when we were growing up.
Sure.
with things like that. And it's a lot like playing a video game. And I think Carson can attest to that a little bit. You're looking at a screen, you can see your bait fall, and you can pop it right across their head and watch the fish bite it. And so, like, there's an addiction, I think, to that.
Yeah.
Isn't there, Carson? Is that kind of how you'd explain it?
Yeah, and it can also hurt you too. Your mental status when you're looking out there and you see that fish and you can't get it to bite. It's definitely, it can help. It can make you or break you.
And I think sometimes that fishermen that use it more exclusively may get hung up on it, that that's the only way. So that's kind of my thinking is a disadvantage of using forward-facing sonar, is that you may get hung up on it even though the fish ain't biting, and that's all you do all day, and you may not catch fish.
So it's a tool to help, maybe bag one or two, but it's not end all be all.
Right. I think you still need to know the other stuff.
Yeah.
I think that to be a well-rounded fisherman, when you think about being a well-rounded football player or an employee or learn a particular skill, you need to know all aspects of it. And I think fishing's the same way. You need to know the old school way.
Yeah.
I think this is a great tool to add to your toolbox,
Sure.
but I think that you still need to know the fundamentals of fishing.
I think you ought to keep a can of canned corn with you. Just be on the
And a
safe
pack
side.
of bologna.
Yeah. One of the two. Or, hey, hot dogs work too.
You can use anything to catch minnows. So moving off of the Kentucky State High School Athletic Association State Championship down on Kentucky Lake, let's talk a little bit about 2022 Major League Fishing Student Angler Federation World Finals down on Pickwick Lake down in Alabama. This is a venue where teams come from all over the world to fish the World Finals and the National Championship down there. As to kind of give you a little backstory on that, the National Championship, you have to qualify for that. You have to be in the top so many teams in the state or win one of your state championships to get there. The World Finals allows teams from all over the world to come and fish competitively together at that lake. So they run both tournaments concurrently on the same lake at the same time. And I understand there's been some teams come pretty good distance to get to fish some of these tournaments, right?
Yeah, there's been teams from Zimbabwe. That's actually the farthest I've seen. But they get over
Canada,
here.
I think there's boat teams from Canada.
They get over here and they rent their boats and their trucks, and they've got it for a week.
How do you find a boat like that to rent? Because, I mean, obviously you can't just go find any boat. You're going to have to be equipped with sonar.
Yeah, I don't know. Speculation. I think you find a guide.
Okay,
that
and you
would
talk
rent,
to the
that
guy.
would rent you his boat for
Yeah.
the week, and maybe even boat captain for him.
Because they know the lake.
Yeah.
Be hard for somebody from Zimbabwe to come practice, or
Mhm.
or know the area.
I didn't
think
even
so,
know
too.
they had bass in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Learn something every day.
So down on Lake Pickwick, Alabama, big lake, River Channel Lake. How do you go into a place like that and kind of figure it out?
We didn't. That's all there is to it. We didn't.
Did not happen. Still haven't figured it out.
Nope.
Tough lake to fish, deep lake.
Yeah, it's really deep. And when they're pulling current, it can change the way the fish act. And it was the middle of summer, so they're set up real deep.
Catch any fish?
Oh, I think
No.
one day we had 3 or 2, maybe.
Not any he wants to talk about.
No, apparently this is a sore subject.
Yeah.
Nothing to
So-
show off.
Yeah.
Well, if we can't talk about production on that lake, let's talk a little bit about the
The ambiance. How did it
Yeah,
feel to
the
be down there? 'Cause
experience.
Now I've drove through Alabama, and there's a few towns through there that I really like, but I've never actually went there and got to enjoy the scenery.
It was hot.
I bet.
It was hot. We stayed in an Airbnb. It was out some back road, and you could see the lake, and it's a beautiful place
So fishing's allowed you to see parts of the country that you would have never.
that I would have never been to.
I think that's one thing people get, tied up in. I can't go do this, but you can. And it allows you to do more than just fish. You get to see these little cool spots, the new scenery, new places to eat. I'm a foodie. I'll travel anywhere to eat something good. I'd say y'all ate pretty good.
Yeah, I think kind of piggybacking off what you said there is like, I think that it may teach you some things that you didn't know that don't even have to do with fishing.
Yeah.
Like you get to learn about some of these lakes. Pickwick is a energy generation lake, so like it's not really a flood control lake. They also have locks and dams on Pickwick, so they let barges through from one body of water into another through those locks. And so it's a pretty cool experience to actually be there and to see some of the stuff they move up and down the water.
Because you don't get to see that here. There's nothing like that here.
No, you never see a barge unless you get closer down toward Ashland.
Yeah,
West
down the
Virginia
river.
line.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool to see some stuff they transport and how they actually move things across our country.
Yeah.
And then you kind of learn, demographics are different in those areas, and folks live a little different. Food's a little different, like you said. So, I love me some southern food. So.
I'm starved to death right now. I have not ate yet today, and so I was sitting here hearing my stomach. I'm ready to eat.
I think you get to see a lot of cool places, and even just traveling there, you get to see some cool things
Yeah.
along the way. So I think it's a great opportunity for kids out there that may be interested in getting into high school fishing. there's more to it than fishing. And I think that being competitive and the competitive side of it is good, but it's also just a good experience for, boaters. Like, they put boat captains with these kids, adults. So it may be mom or dad. We've seen both mom and dad out there on the water. It could be a friend, uncle, cousin, whatever that's got a boat, but good interaction between the adults and kids, and the parents get to spend more time with their kids doing something that the kid enjoys. The parent may not be a fisherman, and that's okay. But it gives them the opportunity to get out there and spend more time with them through some of the best years of their lives, getting to hang out with their kids as they grow into young men and women. And that's another thing we ain't talked about is like the women's division or the girls division. You would be amazed at how many female anglers there are out there.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I kind of assumed that it was a male dominated thing, but to hear that there's that many out there.
Oh, it is male predominantly dominated, but there's a lot of girls that get out there and fish, and a lot of good fishermen that are girls. I think last year down at the state championship on Kentucky Lake, the female team that won had like 18 pounds the first day. So, they whooped a lot of boys during that tournament. So there is great opportunities out there for both girls and boys alike in high school fishing.
Is it a pretty tight-knit community? I'd say you've met a lot of other anglers from all over the country. Do you still kind of keep in contact with any of them?
Yeah, there's people from multiple schools. I talked to some people that are from Illinois I met at Nationals last year. And they're great. Everybody's great people. You get a bunch of people that are the same together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have a lot in common. When you talk to, others, kind of like from Illinois further away, y'all kind of trade tips and tricks and stuff like that, or you kind of keep it still secret?
You can't tell if they're telling the truth or not.
So no matter what, even if it's hundreds of miles away, don't trust them.
No.
You don't want to give any of your secrets away. It's too competitive for that.
That's the general feel that I have here.
New venue this year, Lake Harrington, Kentucky. It's down around Harrodsburg, between Harrodsburg and Richmond area. Tough lake to fish, my understanding.
Yeah, definitely. And everything's deep.
Just a deep lake.
Just bluff walls and docks and 40 foot of water. What are you supposed to do?
I take it he didn't do very well.
Sounds like a place for a forward-facing saltwater for me.
Well, there's so many white bass and striper in that lake. You can't pick one apart.
So, tough place to figure out, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely.
So you go into a place like that you've never been before. How do you prepare to approach that tournament? Maybe even weeks before actual tournament day. How do you go about it?
Well, you start watching YouTube videos is what I do anyway. And then we went down the weekend before the regional championship and practiced and didn't catch a bass all day. And we went down the Friday before the regional championship and we had like 6 pounds. We thought we'd at least do something on tournament day.
So like, even though you go and you catch 6 pounds the day before, even though you go back to the same spot, there's no guarantee that you'll pull another.
Well, you could pull up to the same spot and have 20. You never know. But it's not guaranteed. I did not.
So you approach a new lake like Harrington. You said you went down and did a little practice the day before. Regionals fall during that weird time where fish are moving up to spawn, starting to spawn. How does that affect what you try to do? Just knowing that this time of year, this is what the fish may be doing. Do you focus on that kind of stuff first because you know that it's about to happen? Or do you kind of go with what you've been doing previously and then kind of see what fish are doing?
Well, yeah, you're going to have some pre-spawners, some spawners, and then some post-spawners. So you can pick out anything you want to do. You can catch them on the bed. You can catch them moving up. You can catch them pulling off. It's confusing. It's a confusing time.
That literally just went over my head. I don't know none of that. I know spawn, right? But
Pre-spawn is when the fish start to pull up. So they're out deep. They're out in the middle of the lake. And they start to pull up to the banks. And they just get closer and closer until they get up there and make their bed. And then they have their babies. And
so you move into a lake like that, you kind of know it's spawning. Some of them may have already spawned out and moved off. Could be males up there guarding beds. Could be females up there guarding fry. that sort of thing. What do you look for when you come into a new lake like that? Do you go straight off looking for structure? Do you start looking for bedfish right out of the gate? Kind of what's your strategy there when you start?
Well, once again, it goes back to the dock talk. I tried to do what they did on YouTube. It didn't work. Which, then I decided, well, I'm just going to put my trolling motor in the water and look for fish. So, with eyes scoping, I caught a 10-pound drum and a 3-pound white. I was like, well, I can't do that either. So, we just went fishing. We fished the docks, and as we were fishing the docks, we looked for fish spawning, and we found 4 or 5 the Friday before, and we thought, well, this is going to be good. We got a shot. And we came back on Saturday morning. They had all pulled off overnight, which goes back to that they moved back out after they spawned.
So the fish weren't there that you found the day before.
No.
So it dramatically changed the way that you fished that day. Thinking about that, pretty disheartening, I can imagine, that you think you got it figured out.
Or at least you know where 6 pound is.
Yeah, you can go get 6 pound. You think you might make the cut line with that. You roll out there the next day and fish aren't there, or there's trash blowed in on top of where you were fishing the day before, and you can't. And I say trash, I'm talking logs and sticks and debris that's in the water. But the fish aren't there. You can't see the fish that you had on there the day before, and then who knows? Conditions may change. I know there's times that you've been out there that you go practice this day, the day before the tournament, and then something happens. It rains overnight, or pressures change, or you may have a bright, sunny, hot day the next day, and fish move down looking for more cover, just not doing the same thing that they did on your practice day.
Yeah, well, when you're looking for spawning fish, you want the sun to be up highest point, because the beds down there were deep because the lake's so deep, and there's nowhere shallow for them to spawn really. But we found 2 that were up shallow, and we spent an hour on a little 13-inch spot. Could never get it to bite. And we moved 2 feet down the bank, and there's a 3-pound largemouth sitting there, locked on the bed. We get it to bite. Well, my partner sets the hook, snap, breaks it off. Give it about 3 hours, and we go fishing, and I catch it 3:05. And they give us 1. And we go back to that fish with 10 minutes left, flip on it, pop it up in front of its face, and it sucks it in. Set the hook again. Nothing. Breaks it off. That would put us inside the cut. The cut was 4.7. That would have gave us about 7 pounds. So we would have been up there 5th or 6th place.
Wow, that's a heartbreaker.
That is. To be that close.
Sounds like our luck. Actually.
Oh, yeah. That is the Holbrook luck.
That would be our luck out there fishing.
That would be our luck. 100%.
If it can go wrong, Murphy's Law.
It will go wrong.
It will go wrong, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about something that's pretty subjective per angler. Bait selection. When you roll into a new lake, is there a lot of talk about particular baits that you need to fish that lake with, or is it more what you're comfortable with, or is there a kind of a standard bait selection that you start off with when you're fishing for the year?
Well, it depends on what time of year it is. In spring, you're looking for fish that are up, so you can throw spinnerbait, you can flip, you can throw a wacky rig, floating worm. It depends if they're going fry or spawning. It doesn't matter, but I get all my baits from my personal sponsor, Bass Legends. And let's pull the cup out real quick.
A little plug there for your Bass Legends. Local company?
Yeah, they're out of Little Paint, which is actually like 7 minutes from the house. So I just text him and I'll run over there and get whatever I need. And he helps me out a lot.
Good quality products.
Anything you want, you can get. He can order it for you.
So is there certain baits that you that they hook you up with that is kind of a staple in your boat?
I always got to have Accent River spinnerbait in there. Not sponsored, by the way.
But you wish it was.
If you want to, text me.
Must be a pretty good spinnerbait, I would think.
That's what it sounds like.
So you go down there and you're about a pound below the cut line, a little over a pound below the cut line. Tough day, I'm assuming.
Yeah, back to what I said earlier. I'd like to post everything on Facebook Marketplace and just quit.
It's one of those days, right? It's sell everything and just give it up altogether. Still some opportunity coming, though. 2024 National Championship qualifier down on Lake Hartwell, South Carolina. Back to that heat, humidity, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So what are you going to do to prepare for that?
Well, it's going to be summertime, and there's a bunch of cane piles down there. So that's where the forward-facing sonar comes back into play. But finding the cane piles will be the hardest part, I think. Getting on the bike should be easy.
Should be.
Should be. Don't take my word for that.
So we talked a little bit about prep, tackle, zoning in on where the fish are, seasonal changes that may affect those fish, and where they may be, and how we plan for what we're going to do to start our day. Can you talk a little bit about any hiccups, problems that you run into out there on the water, changes that may occur that may not even have to do with fishing, some things that have happened to you out on the water that you just want to give up and sell the boat and go to the house?
Well, I broke my trolling motor cable the other day. I've been down for about a week. I've been out on the lake. I actually had to get in the water to pull it up. I had to get in the water and pull the cable through to the bottom, grab a pair of pliers and pull it, push it back up on the boat. I just went and put it on the trailer after that. I was done.
Trailer motor down, I'm down. I'm just,
You can't do anything.
let's go home.
Yeah, you got to go to the house. I heard a story about you. We'll see if that's true. About a little swim you took one time during a tournament.
Yeah, I got a little bit wet. We were fishing at Yatesville Lake, and we were in standing timber, and I reached out to push off of one of these trees, and it was dead, and it just broke. And I fell in head first, and I had that inflatable life jacket on. Well, it goes, I'm just floating there.
Do that again. I would have paid anything to have seen that.
It'd been great to have on video.
Oh, yeah.
My boat captain was just standing there laughing at me, and I'm sitting there floating in 40-degree water. I mean,
Froze to death.
no help.
What about your partner?
Doing the same thing as my boat captain. He didn't care. He could care less.
Good entertainment, I would say.
I would say it was.
I know that it's not an ideal situation to be in the lake and at 40 degrees outside. But what about any superstitions, fishing superstitions, things like that you're pretty particular about?
My hats.
The hats.
You got to have a particular hat on.
Yeah. I don't have it on right now, but it's another came on that.
I got you.
This hat. I'd never fish in this hat. Ever.
Must be a bad look. Hat.
I've been skunked every time that I wear this hat.
Retired.
Yeah.
From fishing.
It's an everyday hat now.
I heard a superstition about bananas on boats. I don't know
I've not heard
the story behind that.
Never take a banana on a boat.
Where does that come from?
I have no clue. Just don't.
Always
just don't
heard it.
bring a banana.
Leave the banana at home. So other than
Bananas.
break bananas. Banana.
So tournament struggles. I guess that's kind of covers some of them.
A lot of people say that it's not luck, but I've been lucky a bunch of times. Like, we were at the 2024 state championship at Lake Cumberland, and I was sitting down on my rod culling a fish, and my partner looked back there, and he's like, "You got one." And my Accent River spinnerbait was hanging over in the water, and the 2-pounder was jumping with it. And I finished culling my fish, and then I caught that fish, and that's what set us over the top, which goes back.
I'll take lucky over good any day.
Lord, yes.
It makes it so much easier when you're just lucky,
So if someone was interested in joining the Student Angler Federation, how do they go about doing that?
Well, a lot of schools don't know about the whole high school fishing thing, but you can start a club at your own school with just 2 people in a boat, which you have to have a boat captain anyway.
Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of interest out there, a lot of schools that may not be involved in it. Even on the scale, everybody thinks that you had to have all this stuff, but you really don't. You just got to have some good people that's willing to work and spend their time kind of investing in kids. But I think the first thing that folks could do is to get in with their school system, talk to their superintendent, maybe some of their board members about the interest that they may have in this sport. Like I said, it's a great opportunity to get kids outdoors, away from the video games and that sort of thing, and to get out and actually enjoy the outdoors and be productive in a sport that there's just so much opportunity. Like you said, everybody can't play football.
No.
Everybody's not a baseball player. Everybody's not a basketball player or soccer player. So there's a sport out there for everybody. And I think fishing and some of the other things that we talked about are great opportunities for kids to get involved in their schools and play and kind of do something that is team oriented and teaches good teamwork. Carson's kind of talked a lot about that, about how him and his partner work together. So I think you just get in with the schools, maybe talk to your principals, maybe some of your coaches there, get somebody that is interested that would take this ball and run with it. I think that there's a lot of businesses out there that would be willing to contribute to these type of organizations and to helping these kids out. So I think that it's a matter of getting out there and working at it.
Understand what, if there's any fishing programs out there that need help publicizing, help with media or anything, hit me up. In Focus Media KY. I'll do whatever I can for you.
Personal plug.
Hey, shameless. I don't care. I got to get some work.
So Carson, it's been great having you on the show today. How can folks find you out there on social media? I know you got a lot of social media accounts. How can they find you and kind of see what you're into?
Yeah, I have 2 accounts. I have Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram is Carson.Holbrook. My Facebook is Carson Holbrook Fishing.
Well, that about does it for today's show. All the viewers out there, if you like this type of content and you're interested in more of the outdoors type content, be sure to like and subscribe on Facebook as well as YouTube. We will be producing a lot more content coming forward and hopefully be able to get folks more interested in out there in the outdoors.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. We'll go deep.